All right, let's dive into one of the most intense, drama-filled chapters in all of Genesis. We're talking about Genesis 30. And trust me, this is no simple family story. This is a high-stakes saga of jealousy, heartbreak, and some of the most brilliant business tactics you'll ever read about. We're going to walk through how a battle for children turns into a battle for a legacy, and how a simple flock of sheep becomes the key to a massive fortune.
So we start off with an absolute explosion of emotion. Verse 1. Picture this. Rachel confronts her husband Jacob, and her words are not a gentle plea. They're an ultimatum, a gut-wrenching cry from the very bottom of her soul. Give me children, or else I die. You can just see her, tears streaming down her face, her voice just trembling with envy and frustration. For her, this isn't just about wanting to be a mother. It feels like a matter of life and death.
And yeah, that one desperate cry, it's like lighting a fuse on a powder keg. This isn't just a small argument between a husband and wife. No, this is the opening shot in a long, painful war between two sisters. This one moment of pure despair is the trigger for everything that's about to unfold. Now for verse 2. How does Jacob respond? Does he comfort her? Not a chance. He lashes out. His anger just flares up, and he throws the question right back in her face. Am I in the place of God? It's like he's saying, this isn't my fault. You can feel the tension in that room just skyrocket. He's being defensive, maybe he's even a little scared. He's putting it all on God. But for a heartbroken Rachel, that's zero comfort. It just makes her feel even more powerless. So, what do you do when your husband won't help and you feel like God has forgotten you? Well, in verse 3, Rachel takes matters into her own hands. She comes up with this radical, almost desperate plan. She tells Jacob, "Here's my maid Bilhah. Go into her, that I may have children by her." This was basically a form of surrogacy back then, and for Rachel, it's her first move in this painful battle for a family. And this is where things just escalate into an all-out baby-making competition. So, verses 5 and 6, Rachel's plan works. Bilhah has a son. Rachel names him Dan, which means judged, and she declares, God has judged my case. That's 1 point for Rachel. But it doesn't stop there. Verses 7 and 8, a second son is born. Rachel names this one Naphtali, my wrestling, and says, I have wrestled with my sister and won. Oh, but Leah is not about to let that stand. In verses 9 through 11, seeing she's not having kids anymore, she gives her own maid, Zilpah, to Jacob. Zilpah has a son, Gad, and Leah exclaims, what good fortune. Then in verses 12 and 13, another son, Asher, is born. Leah names him Happy, boasting that now everyone will call her blessed. It's just wild. 4 sons, and every single name is a strategic jab in this family war.
And just when you think this family drama can't get any weirder, it does. Verse 14 sets the scene. Leah's oldest son, Reuben, is out in a field, and he finds these mandrakes. Now, mandrakes were these mysterious plants, and people in the ancient world believed they were a powerful aphrodisiac and a cure for infertility. He brings them to his mom, having absolutely no idea the firestorm he's about to start.
The moment Rachel lays eyes on those mandrakes, she sees a tiny flicker of hope. In the second part of verse 14, she goes to her sister, and you can just hear the desperation in her voice. Please give me some of your son's mandrakes. She's willing to beg, to put her pride aside, all for a chance at what she thinks is a magical cure for her barrenness.
Leah's response in verse 15 is just, wow. It's pure, unfiltered pain. This isn't about some plants. This is about years of feeling like the second choice, the unloved wife. Her words are like a knife. Is it a small matter that you have taken away my husband? All that resentment just comes pouring out. To her, this is just Rachel, the beautiful sister, trying to take one more thing that belongs to her. Rachel's reply is just stunning. It's not emotional, it's a business transaction. In the rest of verse 15, she basically says, okay, fine, you can have my night with our husband in exchange for the mandrakes. And in verse 16, Leah jumps on that deal. She actually meets Jacob coming in from the field and says, you must come into me, for I have surely hired you. I mean, their family has gotten to a point where even a husband's affection is something you can buy and sell. Now, here's the crazy ironic twist. The mandrake bargain pays off, but for Leah. Verse 17, God listens to Leah, and she has a 5th son. In verse 18, she names him Issachar, meaning wages, because she sees him as her payment. Then in verses 19 and 20, she has a 6th son, Zebulon. And finally, verse 21 tells us she has a daughter, Dinah. So the mandrakes worked, just not for the sister who traded everything for them. After all the rivalry, the surrogates, the strange bargains, the spotlight finally swings back to Rachel. The climax of her story, the moment she's been waiting for her entire life, is about to happen. After watching 10 children be born to her sister and their maids,
her time has come.
Verse 22 is maybe the most powerful, most beautiful verse in the whole chapter. Then God remembered Rachel, and God listened to her and opened her womb. After all her scheming and wrestling and desperate plans, the miracle doesn't come from a plant. It comes from God. You can literally feel the weight of all those years of sorrow just lifting in this one sentence. And this is the turning point for the whole family. Verse 23, she conceives and has a son. She says, God has taken away my reproach. And in verse 24, she names him Joseph, which means may he add, basically a prayer for another son. This isn't just one more baby. This is Joseph. His birth changes absolutely everything for Rachel, for Jacob, and for the entire future of Israel.
So, Joseph's birth isn't just a victory for Rachel, it's the starting gun for Jacob. With a son from the wife he truly loves, he finally feels like his family is whole, and his focus shifts, big time. In verse 25, he goes straight to his scheming father-in-law Laban and says, "Send me away." He is done. Verse 26, he demands the wives and children he served 20 long years for. The family feud is over, and now a high-stakes business showdown is about to begin.
Laban, of course, begs him to stay in verse 27 because he knows Jacob has made him rich, so they strike a deal. In verses 31 to 33, Jacob makes an offer that sounds, frankly, kind of dumb. He says, my pay will be only the weird colored animals, the speckled, the spotted, the brown ones, which, are usually the rarest. Laban, thinking he's getting the deal of a lifetime, eagerly agrees in verse 34. But Laban is a snake. He can't play fair. In verses 35 and 36, what does he do? He immediately goes through all the flocks, pulls out every single speckled, spotted, and brown animal, and sends them a 3-day journey away with his own sons. He leaves Jacob with a flock of solid-colored sheep and goats, making it seem impossible for him to earn a single animal. Laban thinks he's outsmarted him for good. But Jacob is smarter than Laban gives him credit for. What he does next, in verses 37 through 40, is an act of pure genius. He takes some branches, peels strips in them to make them look streaked, and places them in the watering troughs. See, there was an ancient belief that what an animal saw during conception would affect what its offspring looked like. So, by making the strong animals look at these striped rods while they bred, he was basically hacking genetics to produce speckled and spotted babies. And did it work? Oh, you better believe it worked. In verses 41 and 42, Jacob gets even smarter. He only uses his trick on the strongest animals, making sure that his new flock is healthy and robust. The weaker animals, he lets them breed normally, so all the feeble offspring belong to Laban. Jacob isn't just breeding for color anymore, he's breeding for strength, and he's leaving his father-in-law in the dust. So let's look at the final score. Verse 43 lays it out plain and simple. Jacob becomes overwhelmingly, exceedingly wealthy. The man who showed up with nothing but a stick in his hand now has huge flocks, servants, camels, donkeys, the whole shebang. He completely outmaneuvered the master manipulator at his own game.
And that brings us to our final thought for today. When you look at Jacob's incredible comeback, you have to ask, what was really going on here? Was his success just the result of a really clever, almost magical breeding strategy? Was it a direct blessing from God, rewarding him for 20 years of hard service? Or maybe it was both. Maybe this is a story about how human ingenuity and divine favor can come together to create something truly amazing. It's a great question about how our own efforts and God's plan work together in our lives.